All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks so much for being here today. I am Tracy Lee Morgan from Tracy by Design, and I help business owners just like you unravel their digital marketing challenges and grow their audiences the smart way. My sole focus is as a Facebook ad strategist, and I do both retainers for clients who want me to run their ads, but I also do coaching and support for business owners just like you who want to run their own ads. So again, welcome. I'm really glad that you're here. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to a screen share so you can just dig right in. We're going to spend a little bit of time going through a few slides, but I'll explain a little bit more as we go. So give me just a moment to put my screen share on and we will be ready to rock and roll. All right, terrific. Well, again, we have gathered here today to talk about setting up your webinar or your list building ad, whatever it is that you're doing, correctly without wasting a bunch of time worrying about, being uncertain or worrying that you're wasting money or anything like that. My goal for you today is to walk away knowing exactly where to go within the platform, exactly how to set things up. And I want you to make sure that you understand sort of how all the pieces fit together too. So as we're getting going, we'll kind of go through all of this stuff. And if you have questions as we go along, please go ahead and drop them into the chat. If you are watching this later, feel free to drop them into the comments here and we will come back and answer them at the time. So again, we're just going to get you guys going so we can dig right in. All right. All right, so first up, here's just a quick overview of the agenda. I'm going to warn you that this is going to move fast so that, our goal here really is to get you the information that you need to set up your ads. So you might want to watch this on replay later when you can pause it, when you can, pull it up on your computer and have it side by side with the platforms, that sort of thing. This will just kind of give you the quick information and get you going. So now after I walk you guys through the step-by-step, and if you feel like you're, need a little bit more support or help with your ads, I'm also going to tell you a bit about how to get affordable access to me. As you might already know, hiring your own ads manager can get expensive quick. So not everybody wants to hire it out. Some people do, but either which way you decide to go with it, I've kind of come up with a good solution that I think works really well to help get you to whatever your next step is affordably. Now, just a quick bit of housekeeping. I'm just going to set these expectations. I'm going to show you guys a few slides. This is not going to be the typical webinar situation where you see like 50 or 100 slides. And if you're here from like the Amy Porterfield or James Wedmore network, please promise me that you will not tell them how badly I butcher the webinar training approach. So anyway, I just want to keep it super focused. And because so much of this, the meat on the bone really is the technical stuff, I want to be able to just do a lot more screen share instead of showing you slides and things like that. Okay. So again, this is going to go fast. I talk fast, and I've also promised that I will get you over this hump in an hour flat. So I want to be respectful for your time. And so we're just going to kind of sally forth here. I did actually try this. The first time I did this webinar, I did not hit the 60-minute mark. So I am really determined to nail it. Okay. So buckle up, everybody. And then again, at the end, we'll be able to answer any questions that you have about ad setup, or if there's not a great time and opportunity for us to do that at the end, or you're watching this on replay, make sure that, you reach out to me one way or the other so we can get those questions answered. So remember, again, today we're only talking about ad setup, although we're going to talk about all the components that go into it. But if you do have questions that are around those, don't use the platform here to do that. We'll just talk about ad setup today, okay? All right, so let's just kind of burn through. That's our welcome. We just did that. We're about to talk a little bit about me. Then we're going to talk through the essentials. So this is where I get into what essential ads you'll need to run, what essential audiences you'll need to set up, some of the strategies that I want you to be thinking about as you go along, what the components are, what the pixels are, and then we're going to go right into the platform and we're going to talk about how to create the pixel, how to create those audiences, and how to create that ad, okay? And then I'm also gonna show you, there's sort of 5 easy ways to get your ads disapproved, and especially right now, Facebook is being very picky about a lot of that stuff. So I wanna make sure that you don't get tripped up there at all. And then again, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the coaching program that I've got going. Anyway, here's a little bit about me. I'm Tracy, we already did that part, but I just want to give you like a quick 30-second overview. I'm a marketer of 25 plus years, and of that about 18 or I guess almost 19 now have been out on my own as an independent consultant. I sort of call myself a recovering corporate drone, and I really love the time that I've spent sort of away from that, although I did get tons of experience working, in the home offices of companies like Target and Best Buy and a lot of other businesses as well. So I have a very broad background, but basically the common denominator for a lot of it is marketing and technology. So as I moved further and further into digital marketing as a specialty, I decided to focus my efforts on Facebook ads. And there's a couple of reasons for this. One in my opinion, it is like, there's no better place for a business like yours or mine, for that matter, to put your hard-earned dollar bills in order to build your audience and drive more revenue. And that's like period, full stop. I don't think it's a silver bullet or anything like that, but in terms of the total marketing breadth and scope that's out there, this is where you'll get sort of bang for your buck. So whether you're an online business owner, whether you have a locally owned business, Facebook ads are almost a must these days to help drive traffic to your website, to your store, to whatever it is that you're wanting to get attention for. So again, with your budget, with your targeting, with your ability to test offers and creative, there's just nothing better out there right now. So, and the other thing to kind of keep in mind here is that if you're on social media actively, you already know social media sort of ain't what it used to be. Organic reach is dropping precipitously, and this is actually how we take control of that situation and make sure that our content gets seen. So the other thing about Facebook ads that kind of spoke to me is sort of, I have this geeky love of, technology things and crunching numbers. And it's kind of the art and science blended together that really works for me in this case. The platform itself seems to be in constant evolution. So it's always changing. And despite that, I run, $5,000-$6,000 of ads for my clients each month. I have only a couple of clients that I keep on regular retainer. I feel like I'm still learning nonstop every time I go to set up a campaign. So, if Facebook changes all the time, there's, the options that you have in there, the reporting, the algorithm, everything seems to be moving constantly. So as a learner, this actually works really well for me. And I've spent the last few years and, honestly, at this point, more than $9,000-$10,000 in courses and coaching and education to get really smart on Facebook ads. And I realized one thing that seems to be missing in a lot of cases, and that's, there are courses out there. Maybe you've got a great ads module in another course that you bought. You should definitely take those things and you should definitely study those things. But what I realized that some of them get dated really fast because Facebook changes really fast. And that can be really frustrating. And, they're not there's not a person there that's there to help you when the rubber really hits the road and you hit the publish button on your ad. So I kind of wanted to be a good gap, connector in that case. And I think the other thing to remember in this whole thing, especially about the very techie side of things, as our friend James Wedmore always says, you can't learn to fish, you can't learn to swim without actually getting in the water and trying. So you have to dive in and practice on the ads platform too. And, you'll learn best by doing and expanding your own knowledge and skills. And that way, whether you decide you're going to run your own ads forever and ever, or you're going to, hand it off to somebody else and hire an ads manager, you can do it with total confidence that you know what you're getting into, you know what questions to ask, and you know that you're getting the best bang for your buck. Because after all, that's really what it's all about. So, sound good? Okay, that's kind of where we're headed. So I hope you're feeling like you're in the right place. So we want to do all of this. We want to learn all of this. We want to practice all of this without feeling like we're flushing dollars down the toilet too. So let's talk a little bit about how we're going to get these ads up and running correctly the first time. Okay. So we're going to just dive right in. I'm just going to talk a little bit about terminology and just review kind of what we're going into here. And I also want to make one quick little mention. I say Facebook ads. I actually mean Facebook ads, Instagram ads, everything you have access to from the Facebook ads platform now. So as you know, there's a lot of different placements you can try. I'm just going to call them Facebook ads to keep things really simple, but you might find that you have more success in one of the other platforms over Facebook. Doesn't really matter. We're all kind of starting from the same perspective. Okay. All right, let's talk essentials. So the first thing we want to talk about is your essential ads. And those are things like brand awareness, list building. So those are conversions ads. We're going to talk about those today, obviously list building and webinar registrations. That's the important stuff there. Sales ads are the other ones that you're going to be running. It's actually just another kind of conversions ad. There's nothing magical there. And retargeting could be for any of those things. But basically, they came into contact with your brand somewhere along the lines, and you're going to go ahead and retarget them, remarket to them down the road. So again, it could have any of those purposes that you see on the screen, and that's what we can use those audiences for. Those ads for. Now let's talk audiences. Okay, so we're going to talk today especially about custom audiences, and those are your warm audiences. So those are the ones that you're going to create specifically for your business, and we're going to talk about the three that are listed here: website visitors, your email list, and engagement audiences. There's two more that we're not going to dive too deeply into today. I want to just tell you a little bit about them. So you've got the terminology. The first one is your lookalike audiences, and those are based on your custom audiences. So we can use any of those audiences that are listed under custom, and we can ask Facebook to go out and find people who have similar, psychographics, demographics, similar characteristics and behaviors on the platform, and match that up. So you might have, a list of your website visitors or an audience of your website visitors. So Facebook, go find us some people who've never heard of us before, but they have very similar characteristics as our website visitors. Okay. So again, they don't know anything about you yet, but this can be a very helpful way of starting to hone in on cold audiences as you build. The next and the last one that are listed here are your saved audiences. And typically these are about either being interest-based, so, people who like Amy Porterfield or people who like yoga, or they could be about things that are demographic or geographic. So that's especially helpful, obviously, if you run a locally owned business. You need people that are in your local area. So those are other audiences that you can create based on all kinds of parameters. We'll talk a little bit about that as we go. And that's really where we're going. All right, so the next thing is the sort of essential strategies. And I like to talk about audience layering because I think it's really important to spend some time sort of understanding not only how your audience members go from cold to warm, and you can kind of see, I did that by color, but also the fact that as you go down and bring them through your funnel, it lessens the amount of people that get to the end, right? So not everybody's going to be willing to go all the way to your sales page, for instance, if they're just sort of like people who want to scan through on Facebook and maybe watch a video or something like that. So I'm just going to take you through these really quickly here so we can have the same terminology. So the first layer, the biggest layer in the top of your funnel, is about amplifying your voice out to your cold audiences, okay? So this is about creating consistent, engaging content organically, whether that's videos or, whatever you might be doing. And then building those video views behind the scenes. That's actually one of my favorite tricks. The other piece of that is then taking those organic pieces and giving them a little bit of signal amplification with a few dollars as an ad, and getting it out there to other cold audiences that maybe don't know about you yet. So you've got your organic posts, you can give them a little boost, and you can get them out to cold audiences. One caveat: when I say boost, I literally just mean signal boost. I do not want you hitting that boost button. Unfortunately, that sends a lot of negative signals to the Facebook algorithm, despite the fact that they make it really easy for us to hit that button. Thanks, Facebook. We want to make sure that we're actually setting ads up within the platform itself. That's the only way to get complete control. And it's actually the way that you signal to Facebook that you're a serious advertiser and you should be treated seriously. Okay, the next layer down is going to be about taking those now newly familiar audiences and activating them. And usually this is about creating some sort of little micro conversion. So just a little step into closer to your brand. So you're going to maybe build your email list here, or you're going to, get somebody signed up for your webinar, and then you're going to move on to email marketing, right? So you're going to welcome and nurture those people and bring them through your process through email marketing as well. So usually this is about creating those conversion ads and getting somebody to get on your email list one way or the other. Now that we move into ask, so this is taking our warmest audiences and bringing them down and turning them into customers, okay? So this is where we start to make that move towards sales. We focus, again, heavily on email marketing here. It can't be all about ads unless you have a huge budget, but we want to use those ads to reinforce and remind and re-engage the audience based on the content that you've sent in your emails, okay? So that's really the process, and that's what I want you to think about as we're building and going through. We're gonna jump in right in the middle here because we're talking about conversions, but if you find that that doesn't work for you really well, it's always good to step back out and go back to this idea of amplification, and so you start layering and building and warming up your audience as you go. Okay, now let's talk about the essential components for your ads. I also have a really great checklist for you guys that we'll talk about in a little bit here that actually has all this stuff on it and just makes this whole process a lot easier, okay? So the essential things that you need to have for your ads, the basics are, of course, your Facebook page and your Instagram business page. Those have to exist. You have to have your ad account and your pixel. You've got to have a business manager now. So business manager is sort of just the, I don't know, think about it as the box that you put all of your assets in. So you run your ads from that box. It's a requirement now as of October 2018 that you have business manager set up if you want to use the custom audiences we talked about. And of course you do. So get that business manager set up and get ready to go. If you haven't actually used Business Manager before, but you've advertised before, just go into your Audiences tab in the platform, and it will tell you that you need to connect, and it'll have a button right there that'll take you right through, okay? So the next thing is your ad components. Of course, we have to have things like really great headlines and compelling copy, you know, the artwork or the videos, whatever we might want to use there, and those audiences that you want to reach out to. And then your supporting actors in this situation are going to be like your email service, so that does your autoresponders and does your sequences and things like that, delivers that thing that you know, welcomed them to. So whether it's a PDF guide or an invitation to your webinar itself, you've got to deliver that back to them somehow. And then you have to have, of course, a compelling offer and a landing page for which they can go to your compelling offer and actually drop in that email address to set all that off. And then the last thing you need to have is a success or thank you page. Now that's really important when it comes to teaching Facebook what kinds of people you're looking for. We have to make sure we've got a pixeled success or thank you page so that we can complete the loop that says we've gotten a conversion. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So those are all the essential components for what you're going to need to run your ads. Now, hang on to the end again. I'm going to drop you guys a link. Actually, I'm not even going to drop it. I'm just going to tell you right now. So write this down really quick. tracybydesign.co/checklist. Okay. So that actually, and let me show you real quick what that looks like. I will show you actually on the next screen when we switch into the platform, because I want to make sure I get through what I need to on this screen first before I mix myself up here. Okay. So I also want to talk just a little bit about your pixels. So we are going to jump onto the platform and we're going to talk about it. But just as a preamble, this is kind of the section that I call, what the hell is a pixel anyway, right? So you sort of have two. Well, it's really one, but then you've got like variations on a theme. So let me explain this a little bit. Your basic pixel is just a piece of code that exists, and you will take it from Facebook and you will drop it into your website or any other online assets that you want to track or drive traffic to, okay? So that tracks people who come on to their website and visit, or it can also track people who hit your sales page or anything else. So you want to have that little bit of code. It's going to live in the header of your website, and it's going to make sure that when it lives in the header, it's going to be present on every single page within your website. And again, if you have other assets that you want to pixel, you can add those in too. So it tracks and aggregates all this information for you, and we'll be able to start building audiences off of that, which is actually pretty cool. Now, the specialty version of this, it's kind of like, you know, pixel on steroids. It's a little bit of additional code that you're going to add to your pixel that tracks a specific page or activity. This is a standard event code. And write that one down too. We're going to talk a little bit more about the difference between a standard event, you know, that little bit of code, and what we also call custom conversions, because those are two ways of both tracking and optimizing your ads. So that's what we want to know. All right, I'm going to pop over to the platform because I want you guys to see this. And let me just start this one more time. We're going to get back to our friends over here at Chrome. Okay, this is actually the checklist. I just want to show you that really quick. So as we just talked about, this checklist will help you go through everything. So go to tracybydesign.co/checklist and you'll be able to download that right from there. Don't need to drop in your email or anything. Don't worry about that. So, all right, let's talk a little bit about the pixel. So we are going to use those two different versions of the pixel in order to track things. So I'm going to show you how to create both of them. Now, I am going to tell you one little thing you need to do first, which is install this, the Pixel Helper. So this is a little plugin it's an extension for Google Chrome that you can just literally Google Pixel Helper and it'll pop right up. But you can install this, and this gives you the ability to see when your pixel is firing correctly. So this is obviously very important when you are driving traffic to things and paying money for things. So we want to make sure we're not missing it. So you'll see right up here, I'm kind of swirling around it here. There's this little page that will fire when a particularly pixeled page is there. So this is my landing page. This is how you got into this webinar today. And you'll see right here that I have two versions of the pixel that are firing here. The important one for this particular purpose is page view. So that's going to show up on every single page of my website. And that way we know that somebody's actually landed here. Okay. So the big mistake that people make here is they go through the process of creating and installing their pixel, but they don't double check that it's actually firing correctly. So I don't want you to be that guy. Okay. So first and foremost, we're going to take a little tour around the ads. Manager, and we are going to talk about these various things, okay? So as I said, you're going to need to have your business account, your business page, I should say, and your ad account, and your business manager already set up. Now I actually have to bop into my business manager here. I'm just going to show you sort of with one of my clients. You can kind of see everything. And the first thing we're going to do is get to this pixel. So if you come to this page, and by the way, you can shortcut your way here by going to business.facebook.com/ads manager, and it'll take you right to your own ads manager, okay? All right, so we're going to go here under the hamburger menu on the left-hand side, which is actually where you're going to access just about everything for your ads. You'll see that there are some frequently used ones here. So depending on what you're using on a regular basis, it'll show up there. But if you don't see what you're looking for, just go to All Tools. And everything is sort of listed out by, different categories. So for this particular thing, we're going to actually show how to create the pixel, place the pixel on your website, and then we're going to create a standard event code. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of going back and forth here because I want you to see this, but I don't want to spend too much time on it. Let's see. We're going to go to Pixels right here, or again, it would be here under Events Manager if you didn't see it over there. And if you've already set up your pixel, it's going to look much like this screen will look, where you'll have a pixel already. But if you don't, you're going to have a big button in the middle that just says Create Pixel. So hit that button first. In the meantime, we're actually just going to go through and pretend that we are just going to set it up. So in this case, we already have a pixel. We're going to click right on it. And then here on this screen, when it finally loads, we are going to be able to say setup, okay? Now again, it's already set up, but this is where we grab the code for this, okay? So we're going to show how to do this really quickly here, but just know that you can always come back and watch this a little bit more closely later if you need to. You're going to select manually install the code yourself, and then on this page, you're going to grab this bit of code that's in section 2 here. So this is your full pixel code. Now I want to highlight something. Actually, if you just click on it, it will copy the whole entire chunk of code. And what I normally do is I just come over here and I grab a new Google Doc or something like that to actually get you started. Let me just do that really quickly. And this way you can always sort of dump everything right here. This is sort of another way of just like getting all of your information together before you get going. And again, you're only going to have to do this part once. So don't worry too much about it. While we're here, I'm also going to show you, in this particular case, if you find this bit of code right here, this ID number is actually your pixel ID number. So for some installations, depending on what kind of website you have, you might need just that bit of code, just that ID number, or you might need the full entire code. So I'm just going to show you a little bit about how to look for this in a separate video, because I think it's an easier way to do it. So I want you to also write this down really quickly, and I'm going to send all these links out to you after this, so don't worry too much if you miss it, or you can just drop a comment below, and if you need me to repeat these, I can definitely do that too. So go to tracybydesign.co/pixel, and there is a little video there that tells you exactly how to set these up and install them, whether you have WordPress, Squarespace, or Shopify. If you have something different than those, you're at least going to get the gist about how to set it up, where to install it, and how it all works. And I am going to guarantee you that whatever you're using for your actual website, it's going to be very similar. So you're either going to put this code into some sort of code injection or a plugin or something like that so it lands in your header, or you're going to take that little bit of ID number and just plug that into the section where you need it, okay? So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the actual pixel placement, but I do want to go back now and I want to show you how to set up your standard event pixel, or standard event code, I should say. That's not really the right terminology. It's really just at the end here. So I'm going to have to quickly get out of the way, get out of my own way. So you just hit continue. And in the next screen, it's going to give you a bunch of options for different kinds of standard events. Now, I know we haven't talked about exactly what this is about yet, and I don't want you to worry about that quite yet. Again, I just want to get this down really quickly on where to find this information and what to do with it. So in this case, what we care most about is actually going to your lead or complete registration. This actually has changed since last I was in here, you guys. This is kind of cool. So it looks like there's a bunch of different opportunities. I think e-commerce and retail are probably going to be your standards. And we're looking for lead. Where is my lead? Whoops, that's not the screen I wanted to go to. Well, all right, let's just, you know what we're going to do? We're going to use complete registration today. it is the same for lead. It's two different versions of the same thing. And actually, the way that I use these, I use lead for things like, downloading a PDF, or they opted into your list for a coupon or discount code. It's literally just a lead. And I actually like to use complete registration when they're doing something that's a little bit more involved. So signing up for that webinar, or maybe booking a call with you. So we're actually going to just grab this complete registration code and use that for this particular example. Okay, so it's the same thing. You just click on this and you've got it copied. We're going to plop that right back over here into this page. This is how it'll look on the page that you're actually going to apply this code. And, again, I don't want you to get too overwhelmed by what this looks like. This particular bit, though, does not go on every page. So it's not part of the main pixel. It's just a little bit of code that's going to help Facebook understand when we've got a completed registration, okay? So the way that we're going to use this is we're going to install it only on the success or thank you page that a customer or an opt-in will hit once they've either registered for your webinar or jumped onto your list, whatever that might be. So you'll need to have control over that particular thank you page or success page so that you can add this little bit of code in there, okay? So again, make sure that you check the other video to see exactly how to install your main pixel. And then, we'll just know that we have to go through placing this on your thank you or success page every single time you do that. So let me just show you what that looks like. I've got my page here. This is my thank you success page that you would see after you registered for this webinar. And in particular, I've got a bunch of different ones in here. Again, if I pull down this code right here, you'll see in this case, I have lead because this is my main one. But in our example, we would actually have complete registration here. So that's how you know that your pixel is installed correctly. You would see page view. That's your normal pixel. And then you would see lead, and that's your standard event that we plugged in, okay? So again, we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the actual ad setup, but don't worry too much about it. So here's another little pro tip for you. So this exactly happened with me. If you don't have the ability to actually pixel your thank you or success page yourself, so say you're using Lead Pages or Infusionsoft or one of those, a lot of them do allow you to just drop that pixel code in there. But if you can't, instead redirect it to your own web page like this. So I've set up tracybydesign.co/thank you. And I just use that to push all of my thank yous right to it, because that way I know that I'm getting that standard event pixel firing at the same time, okay? So that's kind of a sneaky way around it if you need to. All right, now we're going to also create a custom conversion. So this is the second way that we are going to track our results, track and or optimize depending on your situation. So let me show you what that's all about. So there again, we're going to use this thank you page, and I just copied it really quick. And then we're going to go back over here. Whoops, this was the page I accidentally opened. We're going to go back over here. We're going to get out of this guy, and under custom conversions right here. So if you weren't sitting on this page, you would actually find it by hovering over here again. You'll get your events manager, all tools, and then here under Events Manager, you'll see Custom Conversions. That's how I got there. We would go ahead and create a new one right here. So again, this is telling Facebook, listen, if somebody hits this page, then we know that we've closed the loop, that the actual conversion or the actual opt-in in this case has completed correctly. So we want to track that. We want to make sure that we know when that has happened. So what you would do is just drop in your URL. I actually like to take off oops, I'm sorry. I actually like to take off the beginning part of this, if I can. Interesting. So in this case, I would actually be taking off the HTTP, :// So I would just be going tracybydesign.co/thank you. And so you might have to do a little editing before you get that. But that way the URL contains this information. We're picking up URL traffic, and away we go. And I would just name it. This is my main thank you page, or you might say webinar registration thank you page, right? So we know which we're tracking, and then we'll go ahead and we'll say that this one is, again, in our situation, we would be using complete registration for this. So that's what you would use for your webinar. You would use regular lead, which is here, for any other kind of opt-in, but let's just stick with this for now. And you hit create, that's it. Now I'm actually in my client's account, so I'm not gonna hit create. We're just gonna skip that, but that's all you do. And that way you know that you've got a custom conversion ready and able to be used, okay? So Again, this is just another way of tracking. It's another way to verify the results of the ad. I like to use both of them. Some ads managers prefer one over the other, but I think it's just good to have two. Custom conversions has been acting a little strangely lately. I think there's a lot of evolution that's going on the back end that really can make the platform a little tweaky and glitchy. So if I'm not seeing the right results there, I can also check my standard event to make sure it happened correctly. All right, so now once you've installed that either pixel and set up your custom conversions, I just go back to that thank you page again and just double check that it's firing correctly. Remember, I showed you how to do that, so that's pretty easy. And that way you have everything set up and ready to go. Sorry, the lighting is a little weird. We're having kind of a weird cloudy day here, so it keeps kind of going in and out. But anyway, all right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about our audiences. So here again, we'll go here into Events Manager, or to the actual drop down. And if you don't have your audiences right here under Frequently Used, they're over here under Assets. So we're going to select audiences, and I want to show you how to very quickly set up those 3 warm essential audiences, okay? So again, we're going to use custom audiences. We're going to use, in that category, we're going to use website visitors, email list, and engagement audiences. And I'm going to show you very quickly how to set these up. These take no time at all, but you need all of them, and that's how you kind of start building up your assets here. So we are going to simply hit, I'm actually going to hide this real quick so we're not looking at extra stuff. Create audience, create custom audience right here, and it's going to pop up a bunch of options for you. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our website visitors, right? So this one here is customer file. I'm sorry, website visitors, website traffic. There we go. I'm mixing them up. So website traffic, and it's going to say, okay, great. What do you want me to grab? Like, what do you want me to actually start working on? So it defaults to all website visitors, and I think that's the first audience you should create. So it's going to go off of your pixel, everybody who's visited, and you can change this timeline. And if you're not sure what you can actually get here, just hover over this little information dot and it'll tell you maximum time, 180 days. So for the first one, I want you to set up 180 days. Now, when you name your audiences, it's great for you to be able to say website visitors and 180 days. And I always put the date because I really like to make sure I remember when I set these up. Website visitors is one that will actually dynamically update for you. So you don't have to set this up more than once. Just do it the first time, and then you always have your audience growing. So it just every 180 days, on a rolling basis, it keeps adding the new visitors in there. You hit create audience, and guys, that's it. That's all there is to it. So I'm going to back out though, and I'm going to show you really quick the other two just so we have them. Your email list is the one that goes in here under customer file. You're going to, add customers. It's just a CSV file that you're going to bring over, and it's going to give you a little drop in here. You can just click upload or drag and drop your CSV file here. You do have to tell Facebook that you've gotten this from a legitimate source. In most cases, it's going to be directly from customers. So just select that one, put your file in there, and click next, and name your audience, of course, and then click next. And that way it knows that you've gotten the information from a legit source, and you'll go ahead and marry up any of the fields that you might have there. Actually, let me just show you really quickly how to do this. I've got one that we just brought over. So in this, we'll say next. Oops, I haven't selected. Didn't I just say that? All right, here we go. Say next, and then it'll just say, okay, I've got all these fields. What do I do with them? And this is where you just say, okay, this one's first name. So you just change this to match up. First name, email. We don't care about when they signed up. We actually don't care about much else. If you have a phone number, go ahead and put that one in there too, because that's one of 2 ways that Facebook can actually hash your data, is by email address or by telephone number. So really, you don't even need first name at all. If you have it, I always just leave it in there, but it's not important. Here's the last name too. So there you go. And you hit upload and create, and bada bing, bada bang. There you go. So again, I'm going to back out, and I'm going to show you the third one, which is your engagement audiences. Now, the trick here is you may have to create a couple of these depending on where you hang out online. So in engagement audiences, you'll see you've got, for instance, Facebook page. So this is about people who have engaged with your page. You've got your Instagram business profile, so people who have engaged with that. And the other one that you'll probably use here most often is going to be video views. So this is, people who have watched a certain amount of your videos. So you can pick, they've watched 3 seconds, they've watched 50%, they've watched 100%. Don't do that. You'll never get anybody. But, typically you want to start with something that's kind of low as you're growing your audiences. And then maybe you do a long format ad that you might want to only get people who have watched more than 50% of it. So It's going to depend a lot on your campaign, but that's another one that I use a lot. So let me just show you really quickly. We'll go with the Facebook page one. And, you know, for me, I've got a bunch of clients in here, so just bear with me while I find, there we go. So here again, this is the default engage with your page in the last 365 days. And this will continue to roll and update, okay? You can also get really tricky here, and you can specify specific engagements, specific types of engagements. So start with engage with your page. That's the good place to start. But as you get more, you know, experience with this, you might want to pull some of these other ones out too that are more particular, okay? So that's it. You just name your page again. I always put the date. This one again will continue to dynamically update, so you don't have to worry about that. You'll do the same thing for Instagram. It looks exactly the same. I'm going to show you video really quick because I want you to understand that this one is a little bit different. So you're going to say here exactly how much of your video you want them to watch. So let's pretend just for as a basic setup, we're going to use 3 seconds. Now you have to choose your videos. So this is where things get a little bit different because in this case, it will dynamically update the views on the videos that you've chosen. So for instance, if I go kind of over here, let's see here, I might check a bunch of these off, and that way, no matter how far out they've watched the video, they will be added to our audience. But as I add new videos onto the page, as in this case, my client goes live one more time, I need to come back in here and add that brand new video, the one that'll be right at the top, and make sure that I've got that included. So in this case, I'd be including all of these, but I have to continue to come back in here and add new videos as I go along. So I just make that kind of part of the process. Once a week, I jump in here, I add any new videos. You can actually pull your lives, any videos you've uploaded, and in fact, you can also pull views from your ads. So if you've created an ad that has a video that's showing a video or a slideshow even, you'll be able to actually get those video views here too. So that's how you do it. It's actually super easy. And again, most of these are set and forget, except for this video ones, you have to come back in here and update. You also, this will make sense if you think about it, you'll also need to update your email list, right? Facebook doesn't know if you've added people to your email list. You have to update that on a regular basis. So if you're running ads on a regular basis, building your list, you might want to do that weekly. If it's less frequent than that, maybe you can get away with monthly or something like that. But make sure you're always adding in the new people so that your list stays updated. Now, kind of the important part of getting all of these together and making sure that you have all of these is the next thing you can do with your custom audiences is create those lookalikes, okay? And actually, you can do it in the same process. It'll give you that chance. But let's just bail out of this all together. And whoops, I'm going to show you how to take. So here's that list that we just uploaded. You would just click on this and go create lookalike. That's it, you guys, it's that easy. So you do this, you're going to just select your country. As long as you have 100 emails in this list from the same country, you can create a lookalike. It's kind of magical. So we're going to say, all right, here's the list. That's the source that we're going from. We're going to keep everything focused on the US. And then you can select the size. How much audience do you want? As you grow, it'll tell you to keep changing your reach. Obviously, it's summarized up here too. So that seems like a good thing, but remember, you're getting further and further away from the source audience. So do try to keep this kind of tight. You can apply other filters when you're actually building your ad. So maybe you only want people who are 25 to 45. Don't do that here. Just make sure it's big enough that you can use it and then apply those cuts while you're creating your ad so that you have enough people to serve your ad to. I call that out specifically because of things like locally owned businesses. If you are using a specific geographic area, creating a lookalike audience might give you bigger than what you're looking for. So you might, in terms of the geographic reach, so you might need to actually bump this up a little higher. I usually never go beyond 3%. But this way, once you apply those cuts and make that geographic limitation, it won't leave you with like nothing for an audience. So just kind of keep that in mind if you are a locally owned business. So that's really it. Okay, the last thing I just want to show you where to find it is your interest-based audiences or your geographic audiences. Those are saved audiences. So you would create a saved audience and then you would go in here and you can select all kinds of things. And again, I don't want to spend a ton of time on this one because it's not really relevant for our thing today, but let's pretend for a second that you are inviting people to your webinar and you want very specific interests. This is where you would actually do that, okay? So again, we picked the United States. I want women in this case. I'm going to select women ages 25 through, let's say, 55. I'm just making this up as we go along here. And I want them to be, I'm going to use an easy example, Amy Porterfield, right? She's going to pop up as we start typing. This seems like a really good idea if you're a digital marketer and you want to find other digital marketer type people. However, just know that something as somebody as big as Amy is actually going to be a more expensive audience to target. So you might actually want to think about other adjacent or similar type audiences than that. So other big names in digital marketing, or maybe tools that you use. So maybe they might actually be a fan of Hootsuite, right? So that's another way to kind of go about getting at people who are digital marketers without going straight for like those super big names. You'll have to test this out for yourself because it's going to be different for everybody, but that's basically how you would do it, okay? And then you just hit create audience and away you go. So that's the basics of your essential audiences, guys. It's not that complicated at all. So I'm going to just really quickly keep moving on here to the ad setup. So we are going to set up an ad for your webinar coming up. So I'm actually going to switch accounts now. I'm going to pop over to mine. You won't be doing this, obviously, because you will just be you. But as I do that, of course, now that I'm not only broadcasting live, but also playing around in the platform, it's like the double whammy of everything taking a little bit. I'm also going to just flip over real quick and show you that checklist one more time, because this is what you're going to want. Oops, not that one. This is what you're going to want to make sure you have on hand when you go to set up your ad. So you've got all of these specifics figured out. You know all of your details. You have your links pulled together. I actually like to pull all these links up sort of like I did here in separate tabs so that they can, they're easy to grab, they're easy to find. You don't have to worry about it. You've got them all set up and ready to go before you get going with your ad. Okay, so let me go ahead and hide that again. And this is our asset library, but we're going to actually go right out here to Ads Manager to get started. Now, I want to show you very quickly a hierarchy document that I think will help too. So this is, let me skip on through here. Actually, this is everything that's on that ad setup checklist that we just went over. But this is the hierarchy that I want you to kind of keep in mind here. So you start with a campaign, and here at the campaign level, by the way, I stole this from Facebook, so this is where the image came from. But you start at the campaign level here, and this is where you tell the platform what exactly your objective is. So what is it you're trying to do? So you're going to drive traffic to a landing page, or you're going to have somebody watch a video. This is where you select that at the very top level. The next level down is your ad set level. And in most cases, you're going to have more than one ad set. Here, you set a budget, you set your schedule, you set your placements, and you set any optimizations that you're going to have for this particular campaign. And you will set those for each ad set, but I'm going to show you kind of a cool trick around getting around that without making your life miserable. So the next thing is, the next level down is going to be your ads. So here again, you will have, or you should always have, multiple ads underneath each ad set. They should be the same ones from ad set to ad set. So in a campaign, if we called this ad A, this would be ad A over here too. They would be exactly the same. So we want to make sure we're kind of comparing apples to apples. So you might have 5 different ad creatives, and then you have the same 5 in the next ad set and the same 5 in the next ad set, if that makes sense. So this is where you select your images. Maybe you're testing out different images, or you're testing out different forms of copy, that sort of thing. Add a button, don't have a button. There's a whole bunch of things you can do there. So in this process, and I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to do that, we're going to work down one side and kind of back up the other. So we're going to set up the campaign, the ad set, and one ad. We are going to duplicate the ad as many times as we need. And then we're going to come back up here to the ad set level, and we're just going to duplicate the whole ad set because it's already got all the stuff underneath it. So it's a very easy and quick way to get through this, okay? So, all right, let's go back to the platform itself, and let me show you exactly how to do this. You are going to hit this green button, which is Create. We are going to stay in quick creation. So that's actually a really easy way to kind of get this all set up. There is also guided creation. I think that it's interesting, but I don't think you need to do it. As long as you sort of know where you're going with things here, this is the best way to go. So we're doing a webinar registration. So we're going to say webinar 1221 registration. And this is a conversions campaign. So when you look at this, there's awareness, there's consideration, and there's conversion. And this all has to do with how willing the person that sees the ad is to do certain things, right? So we want to pick the objective that most closely matches what we want them to do. So Facebook knows, oh, you're looking for me to find you people who will give their email address or they will buy something. So if they're more likely to do that, then they are going to fit, into this particular way that Facebook is seeking. So we don't want to start with like brand awareness, or we don't want to get caught thinking like, oh, but isn't it traffic that I'm sending? No, when you pick traffic in the consideration segment, I should say, when you pick traffic, all Facebook is looking for is somebody who's willing to go off Facebook and read a post, read a page, look at a sales page, whatever it might be. They're not actually looking for the person who will convert, who will start making those little micro conversions. So always, always, always start with what it is that you want them to do. Okay. And if for some reason you don't get a lot of traction, you might try other ways of going about this, but this is how you start everyone. So conversions is where we're going. Now, I just very quickly kind of mock these up to get started just so we can keep moving. So I say ad set, and then I say ad. That's not really what I'm going to name them, but it's just kind of a quick name to get us going, and save to draft. Now it's going to pop this open again so we get a chance to review it and make sure it's everything we want in life. We don't actually need to review it at the campaign level because that's the one thing we won't be changing. But you can go ahead and click here and go right to the ad set that we created. And this is the window in which you will actually edit your first ad set. And I'm going to show you two ways to get into this, but this is the first way. So here's where we will set up all of the pieces and parts for our conversion campaign. So now you'll see here that right now the reach is 240 million people, which is an awful lot and way too many. But that's basically everybody that's available to us on Facebook. So we haven't done any slicing and dicing on our audience yet. So I actually leave this the ad set name alone until I plugged in my audiences and I know what it is that I'm trying to do. But the first thing we have to do here is we have to tell Facebook where the conversion is taking place. So here again, our optimal solution is actually going to be to select, in this case, we're doing a complete registration. Now, again, because of the way that we set this up before, this is not the right one, but that's okay. So in this case, we might actually select lead because we know that that one's working properly. But in our example, we would actually be selecting complete registration, provided that it was green. And all you have to do is just go reload that page and make sure that it actually sets it up. But that's where you would select that. I'm only not going to do this, you guys, because I'm afraid that we're going to end up with an error for the wrong thing. So let's just pretend between us that this is complete registration. So I'm going to select lead here because I know hers is working. And then underneath that, we're going to do things like picking our budget, start time, everything. If you are, as long as you have the opportunity to, I would never go less than about $10 per ad set per day, only because it's going to take you forever to get results from Facebook to actually optimize the ad and continue to grow it. So try to stay at $10. If you can do 20, that's even better. I know a lot of this breaks down to your budget. So let's take the example of you have $100 a day to spend. If you have 4 ad sets, then you're going to split that amongst the 4 ad sets. So that'd be $25 a day. So that's where you would change that right here. Okay. Let's pretend we've got that. We've got $100 to spend. I always like to start these at midnight so that Facebook has the full entire day to spend that budget and actually optimize as best as they can. So we would select tomorrow. I always just do like 12:01 a.m. And then I don't schedule an end date. I like to just leave it open, especially when you're first getting started. I want you to be in here at least once a day looking at these results. I will also tell you when you first get started, you'll be very drawn to come in here many more times and hit refresh and hit refresh and hit refresh. But anyway, for tracking these first original pieces and parts, you can just go in there once a day and see how things are going. Okay. Now here is where we're going to select our audience. So if we are using the custom audience that we set up before, all you have to do is click in this window or in this little window right here, and it'll pop everything up for you. So you can either grab your lookalike audiences here, you can grab your customs that we set up. So let's just keep going with that one that we were using from before. Let's say this is what we're going to do. We're going to retarget our list. You might decide to put all of your warm audiences together. So you've got your video viewers, your website viewers, and then your video views is here. You might have a, particular post that you want to show. like we had a particular post that was in there. So it could be all of your warm audiences that you just lump together to get started. Now you start losing this number up here when you use custom audiences, but don't worry about it. You'll see that you've got a reach number, and often it'll give you some results based on what it is you're trying to do, but it gets a little tricky calculating this. So don't worry too much. As long as you've got good reach here, you're good to go. So in this case, because we've already defined this audience, we may or may not actually need to cut again, but I don't ever hesitate from setting the age. And like, if you are specifically marketing to men or women, it's a good way to just double check that all those lists are clean. And then you don't do anything else. There's no more detailed targeting, because that, again, we would have set up before. And we would have had that in here. So that's how you do it. That's exactly how you set your ad up. Now, there's a few more things that we want to look at, and that one is placements. If you've never done this before, it's okay to start with automatic placements if you want. That's sort of just the whole menu, if you will. But it's also okay to change these a little bit. I actually like to do edit placements, and then keep your devices, definitely keep that. But, take out some of these weird ones, like take out marketplace, leave stories for now. Actually, let's take stories out because I want to talk about that separately. We're going to use Instagram. We're going to take stories out of there. You might turn audience network off. Sometimes those can work really well, but often they will suck down a lot of your budget. So until you know for sure how your ads are going to behave in the audience network, go ahead and take it off for now. And you can always edit it, put it back in later. That's not a problem. So now that you've got your placements all set up, you are going to just double check, your optimization and delivery. I almost always let this default. So because we picked a conversion objective, we're going to ask it to optimize based on that conversion. If that doesn't get you traction, if that doesn't get moving for you, another good one to do is just to try to go to landing page views right here. So that's another way to just check things out. Often, the sign of the times is really that you've missed out on, your targeting or something's not quite right, but, you can also try landing page views, but start with whatever it defaults to first, okay? And that's it. That's how we go. So this one is now, it'll say right down here that it's been saved to draft. So you can either close it and go back out, or in our case, let's just keep moving on to the next step in the hierarchy, which is our ad. And I'm just going to show you very quickly how you would set up an ad. I need to get into the right account. Here we go. And in this case, let's just pretend for a second we're going to use an image or a video. We're going to grab, let's see here. I'm going to go, actually, we're going to skip that part. We're just going to select that image. And everything in your account will kind of pop up here, but there's also this little chunk of stock images that can actually be really great. I've used stock images to great success for a lot of different client accounts, and they're terrific. So, so you can just always check stock images. You do a little search here for what you're looking for. You can also pull images off your own page, so your Facebook page or your Instagram page. This is Facebook and this is Instagram over here, or you can go ahead and upload ones, all right? I am going to actually just go back to the main account and just pick one. And you're going to just want to keep double checking exactly what the optimal size is for either your images or your video. And that's one reason I pulled out the Instagram and Facebook stories. Because the format is actually vertical, you're going to actually want to create a separate ad set in order to put just stories in and create the actually create the ad specifically for that. So it fits and it looks right. Okay. So for this one, let's just pretend we've got our girl who's really excited over here. This yellow sweater girl has done very well for me. She's very colorful and she sort of grabs your attention. So that's always a good one. And then we're just going to go through this process. So this is so easy. You can actually click here to use a different image for Instagram or to crop this one. And I definitely recommend doing that if you, you want to make sure you take up as much screen space as you possibly can. And then this is where you just dump in all of the relevant information. I got a little confused when I first started running ads, you guys, and one of the ways that helped me a lot was to actually just figure out where each of these things were. So display URL, where is that? Where do I put that? This is going to be our website URL that we drop our traffic to. So again, here's the webinar that we're going to use. So once we drop that in there, watch what happens to our ad preview. It is going to bring over information from the, all of the metadata that's in there. It's called OG information, but all the metadata that's in there, it's going to bring that over. And in some cases, it'll bring over your image and stuff too. So you can now just customize to your heart's content. But now that we've got that in there, you can see all right, well, the text goes here and and it pops up above, right? So this is where you're going to put your fantastic copy and everything that goes along with it. This is sort of your hook. This is how you get their attention. So make sure you do a really good job. I'm not going to talk copywriting today because that would be a whole nother thing. And then your headline is the next important one. So the headline that pre-filled might not be exactly what I want, but maybe I do go free workshop this Friday. And that's it. So you can use link fee description if you want. It actually only shows up on the desktop news feed. So I'm just going to put test on here, 1, 2, 3. And you'll see that doesn't actually show up on the mobile news feed. But if you go over to desktop news feed, that's where it's actually going to preview, okay? Actually, it looks like mobile might be showing a little bit of that now too. So depending on how long your headline is, you might get a few of those words in there. And this is also where you can decide, do you want a button? Do you want it to be, learn more is always a good one, but sign up is actually great. If you're doing a download of a PDF or something, there is download, that's a great one. And it's also really good to test these, you guys, with no button at all. Sometimes they can tend to look a little bit more natural in the feed that way because they look like a regular post. And all they do is they just click and away they go, okay? So that's it. That's all there is to setting up the ad. So once you have that set up and, again, it has saved to draft down here and we can close, you can go ahead and I just closed all the way out of that hierarchy. And now we're back to the main Ads Manager dashboard. And I just want to show you what this looks like from this place forward. Now, here's another little cool trick. If you just click on the ad that you're building and go filter by selection, it takes everything else out of the way so you can just focus on what you're trying to do. All right, so here's where you've got your campaign name. That's where, again, we set our objective, and then we go under ad sets. We see the one ad set that we created, and again, we would edit this. We would call it, this is another way to edit it, warm audiences all. I remember I lumped them together, save to draft. So that's another way you can get in there. Otherwise, you can click edit right here. You can click this box and click edit right here. And you can also go all the way over here and click the pencil and edit. So these are all the different ways that you can get in, right? And then we can go right down to the ads tab and we can see the ad we created. And again, you can edit it all the exact same way. So what I do here is I duplicate and it's gonna ask me just to verify where I'm putting it. It's gonna be in the existing campaign. It is going to be in the existing ad set. That's very important. And we're gonna make one copy. And now we would go in here and change up our creative so that we can actually see we can actually create another one. So then we would maybe pick, a different photo here. Change image, use the same copy in this case, but we want this beautiful food image instead. So here again, it's brought all the information. It's just copying from our last ad, and now we've got this pretty image here that we can use. We can also crop it and adjust things if we need to. Just check your previews and things like that, but that's it. And now that we have, let's pretend we're just gonna do 2, but make sure you give Facebook something to work with, guys. Give them a couple. Then we go back out to and we can close it right here. We go back out to the ad set level. Now this particular ad set holds 2 ads underneath it. You see that here. So all we have to do now, if we're going to test some more audiences, is we can go ahead and duplicate this. Same kind of thing. We're going to put it in, the existing campaign. It knows which one. And if we're going to have, let's pretend we're going to have 3 of them. So now we have duplicated. We've got 4 ad sets that all have the exact same ads underneath. So that's exactly what we were looking for there. Okay. Now it's going to take just a minute. The problem, what I don't love here is that often this window pops open to get you to start doing your edits on your new ad sets, but unfortunately has selected all of them for you. So that's not really helpful because you're obviously going to need to edit them individually. So here you are, you can see that all of these are highlighted. We don't want to be in there. I actually like to close this back out again, go back out here, uncheck everything, and just take the next one, go ahead and make this one, let's pretend this one is cold audiences lookalike. And save that to draft. Then we edit this guy, okay? And this is where we switch instead to our lookalike audiences. So again, you've already set those up in advance. Here we are, we can just scroll right down. Here's our budget was the same, our start time is the same, and then just X out the ones you don't need. Boom, bada, boom. And you can plug in the one that you want to use. So just again, click in that box and grab your relevant lookalike audience. Let's just pretend it's that one. Or you might lump a bunch of them together. I've done that too. I actually like to, once I'm getting started, it's nice to have a big audience to go to. So let's just pretend I lumped them all together. Again, everything else stays the same, you guys. You just leave it all the same. You don't have to do anything to the ads. And boom, there you are. Okay, that's 2 done. All you would do is just repeat. That's all there is to it, okay? So again, remember that you're divvying your daily budget up amongst your ad sets. So depending on how many you have, that's where you're at. And now all you're gonna do is you're gonna hit review and publish. Then this sends the ad over to, and actually we've got a couple errors here, but it's unrelated to this, so we're just going to ignore it. I have a different campaign in here. For some reason it's picking up. So let's actually uncheck that one, and now we can see where we're at. So we can just double check. Yep, those are the 4, the ones that are checked are the 4 ad sets that we have. And then again, I have some little problem here, it looks like, for, oh, I selected carousel and I need to put more images in it. But you would do that. Again, you would build these out correctly. You hit publish and it sends it in to get approved by the gods at Facebook. So make sure you give yourself a couple of days for this, because in some cases your ad, depending on your copy, if you don't have it quite right, you might get disapproved. And then you have to go through a couple of steps to actually get your ad looked at manually and get it approved, or you might need to tweak the copy, resubmit the whole thing. So it can take a little bit of time. I just don't want you to wait till the last minute and think your ad's just going to go live. You have to kind of work through a couple of those pieces and parts too. So all right. So then after you've hit that, after everything goes into, like it'll say it'll go from in draft, instead it will say in review. And then once it's approved, it will say scheduled. Okay. So that's what you're sort of looking for. And that'll show at the ad level, at the ad set level, and at the campaign level. So each level will show kind of the current state of affairs. And then, once that's done, you're just waiting to make sure that it's actually running. So the next morning, tomorrow morning, I would get up, I would take a look at this ad. I would just make sure I'm starting to see some reach and impressions here. And that tells me that my ads are serving and that they're getting out there where they need to be. I always check that at the ad set level too, just in case something gets tweaky with a smaller audience. Just make sure that it's serving. Then walk away. Just walk away. You want to walk away for 2 to 3 days when you start a campaign like this, and make sure that you are giving Facebook time to optimize, okay? It's going to see which ads are performing best. It's going to rejigger your budget towards the best performing ads. And then after 3 days, you can come back in here and take a look at all these different ad sets and the performance, and you can start killing off the losers or jacking up the budget on the ones that are working really well, that kind of thing. But don't touch anything before that 2 or 3 day period has gone by, and that you get out of learning mode. So one of the other things you're going to look for is once this switches to delivering, you'll see that for the first day or so, it's going to be in learning mode. And that's just Facebook trying to figure out what it is you're looking for, trying to learn exactly, what the goal is and if they're achieving it. And it takes some time to get to that point, especially if you start with a small budget. So that's where I really would like to see you start with $20 per ad set. But even if it's 10, make sure you just give it enough time to get out of learning mode before you start making decisions, okay? You guys, that's it. That's how you set up your ad, and that's how you get it up and running. That's what you're looking to do for your webinar, okay? Now, I'm going to switch back over here because I want to talk one more thing when we talk about the disapproval thing. So here is, your surefire path to disapproval and things to think about. Now, again, I could do a whole webinar like this just on copywriting alone, which obviously I don't have time for today. We're right at that hour mark right now. So I want to make sure that you've got at least some things to think about. The first thing is, don't have too much gloom and doom, right? So Facebook is very sensitive, if you will, to making people feel bad. So they don't like ads that really hammer on pain points. So kind of watch how you call those out. They just don't want the users feeling badly about themselves. They want it to be a fun experience. They want it to be uplifting. And that's how they get around that. So the other thing is about singling out people or groups of people. So you have to sort of watch how you do that. The reason they do that, of course, is to make sure that we don't get ourselves in trouble with any sort of, egregious things that are more to do with like race or sexual orientation or whatever. It's usually not even that bad. But if you start to find yourself calling out groups of people like, hey, business owners, you have to sort of be careful how you do that. And you might see a decline or a disapproval because of that. So just kind of keep learning and keep working on it. One thing that'll really help here is the use of the word you, your, yours, and your, you are, right? So if you use that, so, hey, business owners, are you having a hard time with, that is signaling to Facebook that you are calling out a group of people, and they don't want that. So make sure that the way that you use those words, the U words, is very limited, and don't use it in the first line of your text, okay? That's where things really start to get hammered down. So you might get flagged with auto review just for having that in the wrong place. So really, pay special attention to the first line of your copy. The next thing is you can't use promises or guarantees or claims. So money, especially financial stuff, or weight loss or things like that, especially if there's a time frame oriented with it. So you can't talk about, making $100,000 in 6 months, that sort of thing. Anything that starts to sound like a cheesy promise or a guarantee, for sure you're going to get clicked out of that one. And then you also want to make sure your landing page meets requirements too. So this is another thing. Facebook is not just approving your ad, they're approving your ad and your landing page connection. So they are reviewing things on your landing page. So make sure that your landing page is adhering to policy, and it has your business name on it. It has a link to your privacy policy, your terms and conditions that is required. And it has a way for you to click to get support. Usually that happens within the privacy policy, or, anything there. You have an email address that they can get support if they need help. Okay. So those are just really quick ones to think about. They seem to be the most important ones right now. But if you do get disapproved, just check your content. It's always helpful to have somebody take a look at your content ahead of time. Of course, it doesn't guarantee anything. It can still be a problem, but make sure you go through the appeals process, or if you're still waiting, maybe 12 hours later, go to Facebook Advertiser Chat and get a live person on the line so that you can actually ask for a manual review, or at least better understand why you got disapproved. So, and here's another one I want you guys to write down: facebook.com/business/resources. And sort of about, 2/3 of the way down there, you'll see about getting help with ads. Okay. And just be specific that your ad got disapproved, and you'll go into a chat room and away you go. All right, so that's it right now. If you have any questions, please drop them into the chat right now. It'd be terrific. I hope this was helpful for you guys. And again, before I forget, I just want to reiterate the link for the pixel placement is tracybydesign.co/pixel. And the link for the checklist that you want to download is tracybydesign.co/checklist. And that has all of your ad components and everything that you need. So I know that you're going to want to soak up this replay, so I will send out this particular replay link, as well as all of those links, so that you have them handy. You can rewatch this or watch it for the first time, or whatever it is that you're doing at your leisure, and make sure that you have time to pause it and take a look at the platform and set things up as you go along. So make sure you grab the checklist now, and then you can get the email and everything else that'll have all the other links in it. So that's kind of the down and dirty of how you get your ads set up and running, but there's still sort of one big problem that remains. And I know you're probably already thinking about it, and it's like, great, but what do I do once this is running? How do I know if it's working? What am I looking at? How do I set up my reports to know what is important here? And what about the next time I go to do this? So this is sort of where I can help you. Now, I know that hiring an ads manager will start very bare minimum at about $1,000 a month. I charge $1,500 to get started, and that gets more expensive as you go into launch. A lot of my contemporaries are in that $2,500 range per month. So those are really for bigger businesses. Obviously, it makes more sense for them to spend that kind of money. So, and also the other thing that's important to remember is that that is in addition to your ad spend. That doesn't even include your ad spend. So I know that it can be kind of a tricky place to start. So I wanted to sort of create an affordable solution, affordable bridge for you to kind of run your own ads now and really learn, but not do it like walking a tightrope without a net. This is sort of a way for you to have a pro in your back pocket. So again, you can sort of continue flailing around, and you can worry that you're wasting money, or you can get some help. And that's where I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Audience Activation Studio, which is my group coaching program, sort of an on-demand coaching program. And this basically is the alternative for you if you can't afford to hire an ads manager right now. You don't have to sort of like flail around blindly by yourself and not really know what's going on. And also, even if you can afford an ads manager right now, I really advocate for people to learn stuff themselves first, so that you can hand the reins over with complete confidence when you're ready. You know what to look for. You know what's working, what's not. You know exactly how to read all the reports. You have all the skills you need to sort of make sure your money is being spent wisely. You know all the right questions to ask. So let's remember, if you're going to spend big bucks on your ads and your ad services, like your ads manager, you want to make sure you know what you're getting out of that, okay? So this is sort of like where the building a bridge option comes in really handily. Gives you a chance to get some momentum cooking in your business, and it gives you a chance to build up some money so that you can do that shift and get ready to hire your ads manager. It also gives you a little ad swagger of your own, and I think that's really important too. So, you know, whether you decide to continue to run your own ads forever and ever, amen, or you decide to hire out just as soon as you can, this can be a really great option. So, you know, it's a way for you to continue to be 100% responsible for the success of your business, because you are putting yourself in there and you're learning. You're doing what you need to do to show up for your business, okay? You better bet that people like the James Wedmores of the world and the Amy Porterfields of the world absolutely ran their own ads when they started, right? And they both teach them now. So you know that is a very important piece of growing a scalable business in this digital marketing world. You have to make sure you stay up on all of the pieces and parts. So this is a way for you to not have to do that alone, okay? So for December, the Audience Activation Studio is opening for my founders. This is sort of my beta, if you will. So I'm actually offering not just the opportunity, but also a really nice deal. So I want to make sure for you guys who've signed up for the workshop that you have the opportunity to enroll if you're looking for it, especially if you're looking to start running webinar ads starting in the beginning of the year, that sort of thing. Because I want to get people in. I want, you know, get people learning and figuring out what's going to work for them and do that testing so that they can get some traction going. So the Audience Activation Studio is sort of first and foremost a support group and a coaching group. I can provide you feedback and answers and assurance on your ads. You make sure your campaigns are set up correctly. Look at things for stories versus Instagram versus, you know, being on the Facebook platform. I'm going to be adding more and more sort of lessons and learning as we go. But right now, you know, it's really important that if you've taken courses by the James Wedmores or the Amy Porterfields, you know that you get a little bit of ads training. So this is a way to take that and confidently go forward with it, even if maybe the screens don't look the same anymore, or you're not sure if you're setting it up quite right, or if you build your audiences quite right. You can come into office hours and get that support, get those questions answered, okay? So my program is really designed to fill in the gaps between those lessons and then the active on-the-job training, if you will, okay? I call it kicking the tires while doing 70 down the highway. And it's just kind of moving you beyond that theory and into actual action, but again, not doing it by yourself. So the benefits here really are about, you know, it's sort of like a studio or a garage for cars, right? So you bring your car in, you know, tinker underneath the hood, you maybe tune things up, or you put that, you know, Go Speed Racer version on things. It really just helps us do the optimizations and also maybe repair something that's broken. It's really similar to that. It's a monthly membership. You decide how long you want to stay in. There's no contract. You know, most ad pros like myself will tell you that it takes probably a good 3 months of ongoing ads so you can actually learn the platform and know what you're doing and feel comfortable. So I do recommend trying to come in for 3 months, but it's not required at all. So this is just something you can kind of decide how you want to be involved. Okay. So I'm just going to show you the sales page. This is tracybydesign.co slash what did I put it under? /info. There we go. tracybydesign.co/info. All right. So basically this kind of just goes through everything and sort of asserts all the things that I just talked about. We've got a couple different ways of collaboration. The weekly office hours are sort of the main bit. 4 or 5 times a week, I have sessions that are 1 to 2 hours long, and you just pop in and get your questions answered and get on with your life. Sometimes people hang around and they like to see what other people are doing and learn from them too, but a lot of times they just keep moving. So they come in for 15, 20 minutes and off they go on to the rest of their day. So you've got office hours available to you 4 or 5 times a week. There's always at least one 1 hour available on the weekends as well. And I vary the times. So from week to week, they're always different times. So you can meet them up to the schedule that you've got. So this is a little bit better than waiting for a weekly scheduled call, especially if you're in some sort of distress with your ads. You don't want to wait. You want that feedback. The other thing we do is one workshop a month. Tends to be a 60 to 90 minute workshop. You can either watch live or you can watch it at your leisure. But this is kind of like either a master class or maybe we'll do hot seats one month, those types of things. So in those particular workshops, you'll find all kinds of different topic matters. For instance, in December, we actually did a optimization, a sort of interpretation and optimization workshop. And that really helped people know what to look for with their ads as they were going along. So that's kind of an important piece too. Just one example, lots of good stuff coming in 2019. I'm very excited about all that, those pieces and parts. We also have a private Facebook group, so we are able to get questions answered in there in between our office hours. So you will always get good response from that too. And then I also pop into the group every now and again with some quick updates and information that I might have learned, or, you can pop in for a quick happy hour with me and get some, on the fly questions answered and things like that too. That's not in the typical format. And then, we're just, basically this is a month-to-month program. And like I said, going into the month, there are some opportunities, some deals for you. So I want to talk about those real quick. The month-to-month program is $379 a month, includes everything that we just went through and, all the feedback and information and advice that you need. And I'm going to have that at $379 next year. For December, I am taking $100 off per month. And that actually also links you in or locks you into that price point for good. So you will stay at $279 no matter where the price point goes, okay? There is also a VIP program that I only have 4 spots for. And actually right now I only have 2 available. So I wanted to just let you know about that, but also this is a way for you to get some additional one-on-one support if that's what you really like. So this is $679 a month. Again, no contract. It includes everything that we just talked about over here. In addition, we add one monthly one-on-one call. So that's a private call, 45 minutes. We can talk about anything marketing related that you want. So a lot of folks like to talk about their strategies or how to interpret their results in particular, maybe map out their funnels or fine tune offers, that sort of thing. It's whatever you want to do. I also keep access to your account in this situation. I will have you add me as an advertiser on your account. And that gives me the chance to go in there and take a look at what's going on in your account and give you some proactive feedback and suggestions too. So it doesn't necessarily have, you're not the only one that's looking at your results, and you can actually lean on me for some of that feedback as well. And then the last thing that comes with the VIP is that there's unlimited Voxer access during business hours. So if you do have a quick question or you do want to chat a little bit, we can go through Voxer to do that as well. If we're between calls or whatever else you might need it for, okay? So those are the opportunities there. There is a discount on VIP only in that 3 month as a prepay. So that's a great way for you to save a couple $100 on that. But the month-to-month version is not discounted. The basic monthly is the only one that has a discount right now. Okay, so that's sort of the information about that. I know you guys are chomping at the bit to get going and get that first webinar ad set up. And I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to do all that. So I will send this information out to you just as soon as possible. And if you have any questions for me in the meantime, you can reach out via email. You can reach out via my website. You can reach out via my Facebook page. There's all kinds of ways to find me, but make sure that you let me know if you have any questions about either the program or the ad setup process itself. I'm happy to help with any of that stuff. All right, guys, that's it. I wanted to thank you so much for being here. And again, let me know if you have any questions. And otherwise, I will see you on the book. All right, bye for now.